Hey guys, Mark here with another edition of Weaponized Truth. So, I actually made two different cuts of this video previously, and for various reasons, which I will get to, this is going to be the one that I'm finally going to release. I've noticed a very disturbing trend on social media. There's some very strange things going on social media that need to be addressed. Now, I maybe a couple of weeks, couple of months ago decided to sign up for Twitter once again. I made a new account and I linked it up to my name of my YouTube channel, and of course, you know, for my I'm a big Trump supporter, okay, and I'm well aware of you know there are some things about Trump and his administration that some people should definitely be concerned about. With that said, obviously, when I went onto Twitter, you know, I would have to say that one of the most interesting things in the world is definitely this Trump presidency. The presidential election was something quite incredible, and so when I went on to Twitter, I was looking. Obviously, I followed the president, and then I started looking for people to follow who had, seemed to have breaking news and interesting stories and takes about things that were going on with Trump and his administration, and so on and so forth. Now, once again, I only re-signed up to Twitter, maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks ago or something, if that. And it doesn't take long at all to figure out who are the premier voices of the Trump supporters who are pretty much leading the echo chamber for everyone else to follow along with. Now, which leads me to why I have a screenshot here of a video that was made by New World Agenda. Now, when I originally made this video, because of the information that I had slowly started to notice these patterns, and especially after something that I noticed that happened last night, I was pretty angry. And let's just say I made a profanity laced monologue about these things that went on. And when I had finished it, I was relatively happy with what I had to say. As usual, I think there was one or two important points that I missed that, but I was just like, it's fine. But when I got done, and I actually mentioned this when I was talking in the original video that I did release, and I was like, man, you know who really could use this information? New World Agenda. Because if there's one person out there who exposes shills or exposes people as shills and is absolutely relentless about it, it's Jeff C. Now, Jeff and I don't agree on everything eye to eye. I'm not totally into this whole Zionism thing. I am well aware there are a lot of Jews in power doing bad things, but I think there's a lot of people in power doing bad things. But with that said, when it comes to the United Nations and Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and globalism and all that stuff, I will have to say that Jeff has put out some of the most incredible information, pretty much compared to just about any other channel that I've come across. He has got some excellent stuff coming out. So when I finished the video, I decided to check on the New World Agenda channel. I don't know why, but I was like, I'd actually unsubscribed from New World Agenda. The whole beef that he had with David Seaman and all that, it honestly, it got a little annoying. And I still followed his other channels, his backup channels or whatever. And at this point, New World Agenda was pretty much inactive, possibly gone. But I figure there's a 1 in a million chance that I'm going to go over there and New World Agenda channel is still going to be active. I'm like, it's probably another 1 in a million chance that Jeff is actually noticing these same trends in social media that I am, and that is exposing them. So I figure there's an astronomical chance that he's actually seeing the same things that I am, obviously for different reasons. But you can't imagine my surprise when I went over to Jeff's channel and I see 3, 4, 5, 6 videos, and I already knew there's probably 2 or 3 5-hour live shows that he probably did going in this stuff into depth. And you can't even begin to imagine my surprise when I saw his video with this as a thumbnail right here. Now, obviously, what Jeff had been talking about had pertained to people on YouTube. Now, the stuff that I was really coming across was from the people on Twitter. Now, as we know, a lot of people use both platforms. A lot of these people that he's got in this picture are all pretty much the leading voices for what's going on as far as Trump and everything else over on Twitter. And you can see a lot of them right here. It doesn't take very long to see that the leading voices talking about what's going on with Trump are all right here on the screen. And we're talking about Jack Posobiec, we're talking about Mike Cernovich, we're talking about Paul Joseph Watson, and we're talking about quite a few other people as well. And so once again, I started following all these various people. And one of the people that he doesn't have pictured here, who is quite a big voice over on Twitter, is this gentleman, Lee Stranahan. And if you don't know who Lee Stranahan is, well, Lee Stranahan is a reporter for Breitbart. He was known and got a lot of popularity on Twitter because he was known as a completely unbiased journalist who was fact-driven but was also a Trump supporter. And so him and some other reporters, some other people, some other big names that I'll get to, obviously I started following these guys. And of course, one of the big sentiments that you heard from all these people, more than anything, is how they want to try to separate the connection between Trump and Russia and make sure everybody knows that it's fake news. Well, let's sit here and go over the course of events that I've watched transpire on social media for the past week. Now, at some point in the past week, Steve Bannon, who's also was a big player with Breitbart, been all over the news as one of Trump's closest advisors. He was kicked off the National Security Council. And of course, a lot of these people that you see in this picture right here are all in an uproar about him getting kicked off the National Security Council. Well, a couple of days after this happens, Lee Stranahan is having live periscopes from the White House. I believe it was the White House, saying he's got the biggest story in the world and how he is about to get fired from Breitbart because they won't let him ask the question to the president that he wants to ask. So needless to say, within a couple of days of Steve Bannon, formerly of Breitbart, being kicked off of the National Security Council in Trump's cabinet, Lee Stranahan of Breitbart was fired. Now, Lee Stranahan has been holding all of these periscopes. And the thing that he does when he has his periscopes is he talks about his little, Trump supporter friendly sounding website he runs called The Populist. It is thepopulist.us. And it's not a very good website, y'all. But that's neither here nor there. But one of the things that he does on his periscopes is he continually repeats the phrase, "I want to make you smarter." Okay? And he's even gotten people who come into the room and saying, "Lee, please make us smarter." So he's automatically done this mind trick where he's declaring himself as the information authority. He's already declaring that everybody else who comes into his periscopes needs to bow down to his authority and that he's smarter than everybody else and that they need to shut up and let him make them smarter. Now, what's interesting is in these periscopes, he talks about books that he's read on mind control and how other people in social media are going to use these tricks from these books to get people to follow them. And it's interesting because nobody bats an eye that the exact same thing that he's telling people that he studied and he's telling people will use to trick them on social media is actually a trick that he's using on all of his followers. But none of them think to question it because they automatically assume if he's telling them about these mind control techniques and brainwashing propaganda techniques, that there's no way that he'd actually use it on them because that would make him the stupidest criminal ever, or the stupidest person ever. But the simple fact is it gave him the ultimate alibi to do exactly what he wants to do. Now, as soon as he got fired from Breitbart, he started having these periscopes telling all these people who support Trump to go read all of these articles and tells them to keep an open mind because they're anti-Trump, but they're factual and they're going to make people change their mind about Trump, more or less. And he's starting to sound like a snake in the grass, right? But that's not the end of the story. Because at some point after viewing these strange behaviors by him and by others, it took me a while to piece this stuff together, y'all. I decided to go check out this populist.us website that Lee Stranahan, formerly of Breitbart now, operates. And he claimed to have this earth-shattering bombshell news about something going on with the Trump administration. And I took the time uh, out of my day and decided, hey, why don't I go check this out and see if there's something pretty amazing there? And I have to say, I went to the website. The website wasn't very impressive at all. And the article had very little substance at all. And I'm like, this is what I came over here for? Crap, everybody already knows. Well, isn't this interesting? Because when I went to Google and I was trying to find his populous.us site, which for some reason is a little tricky to find, I saw articles saying the ex-Breitbart reporter Lee Stranahan now works for none other than Russian propaganda state-run media Sputnik News. And I'm like, well. So now we've got this Trump supporter who's been bringing everybody in to support for Trump. He gets fired from Breitbart, starts pushing these anti-Trump articles to his followers, and then joins a Russian propaganda news outlet after the entire Trump community, it seems, has been trying to distance himself from this whole Russian thing. And that's who he goes to work for? Now keep in mind the Jack Posobics, the Lee Stranahans, the Mike Cernoviches, and all these guys, even the Paul Joseph Watsons and the Stefan Molyneux. And I actually like Stefan Molyneux. He's more of a philosopher than anything, but he's in with all these fucking people. I even like some of the stuff. I like, there's little bit, and that's how they get you. There's little bits of things these guys say that you really want to get behind, but there's always some deception tied in with this. And it really, really made sense when I saw another Periscope/Twitter star do a Periscope last night. Now keep in mind, because I've been falling bait to some of this stuff. This guy in the top left, I made a story. I did a video about him blowing up YouTube just to find out it was a hoax later. About his little fake screenshot thing that he had. Okay? I did an article about Cernovich because he's got big time news media outlets leaking him stories. You gotta have some serious fucking connections to get people from these big time newspapers to slip some little Twitter/YouTube star a big ass huge story. But that's exactly what happened. And it didn't just stop there, mind you. Trump actually tweeted out to Mike Cernovich and said that he deserved to have a Pulitzer Prize. The President of the United States of America, who's not supposed to have anything to do with Russia, and that Russia didn't have anything to do with the election, and we got another guy right here who's running around with all this little clique of all these different people who are all tied up with these Russian reporting agencies. And the guy that really set it off last night, that's not on this picture, that has to be talked about, is Baked Alaska. He had a Periscope last night. The first person he had on his show was Lee Stranahan, and they straight up announced at that point, yes, it was true. Lee Stranahan left Breitbart to go work for Sputnik, the Russian propaganda news agency. And there's another girl that tens of thousands of people follow, and I even followed her because she was some kind of big-time reporter. Now, I didn't know which agency that she worked for, but she seemed to have some pretty interesting tweets and information, and so I was following her. Well, after Baked Alaska spoke to Lee Stranahan of Sputnik News, this is all a pro-Russian group, mind you. He's talking to everybody, tell them the type and who they want him to call, who they want him to call, and so on and so forth. And I guess everybody decided on Joe Biggs. I like Joe Biggs. Joe Biggs doesn't give a fuck about your opinion or your feelings. He doesn't give a fuck about what everybody else is doing. He kind of does his own thing. And for that alone, I respect the man. Because if he doesn't like what you have to say, he doesn't care if you got 5 followers or 1,000,000 followers. He'll tell you to suck his ass. You gotta respect a brother who does that. I'm just saying. Now. So apparently, Baked Alaska has a direct fucking line to Lee Stranahan and Joe Biggs. They're out in the little cell phone buddy club. They can just call each other up. Hey, what's up? There's some pretty big connections. Of course, Joe Biggs is like, fuck that. He turned this shit off. That shit went straight to voicemail. He was like, I'm not getting in on this. So then, he finally ends up deciding to call this girl Cassandra. And I don't remember her last name, and I apologize, and I'll try to get it to y'all. But if you go on Twitter and you start following all these different people, she'll pop up on your feed soon enough. So they start talking to her, and then that's when they disclose that Cassandra works for the same state-run Russian media propaganda outlet as Lee Stranahan, and those were back-to-back guests on Baked Alaska's Periscope last night. And so and these Jack Posobics and these Stefan Molyneux and these Paul Joseph Watson and all these Lee Stranahans and all these different people who are trying to get everybody convinced that there's no real ties going on with Trump and Russia are all in bed with Russian propaganda reporters. And they're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to retweet any kind of crap they want to feed you. The latest one is they want to go after Kushner because he took a $250 million loan from Soros. Now, obviously, you want to applaud that, but who gives a shit about one guy with all the elites and globalists on his staff? Who gives a fuck about the one little piddly ass dude? I support Trump. I don't trust his cabinet and all these big time globalist elite, Goldman Sachs, globalist elite people, I'm not blind. But this is what I say, that there's a couple of things that he's done that are undeniable. And these are only 2 reasons why I voted for him. I wanted him to fight against Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and depopulation and all that stuff. And I want him to stop illegal immigration because I'm tired of, every time I want to go see a movie, worried about if I'm going to get blowed the fuck up by some fucking terrorist. That's it. That's all I give a shit about. Illegal immigration is down 67% since Trump's in office. That is an exceptional number. I've never been big in this whole Pizzagate thing. That's this never-ending rabbit hole with no real proof. But you know what? Been almost 2,000 arrests related to child pedophilia and sex trafficking and all that stuff since Trump became president. Pretty alarming statistic, but that's a big-ass number, right? He pulled us out of the TPP, this trade thing with these tribunal courts that could have laid down financial things against America, just like they're doing over in, Greece and Venezuela and all of these countries where people are starving to death. They could have done it to us to crush our economy at any time, and he pulled us out of that. That's a big deal. He also, and this is the biggest deal, he defunded the population fund of the United Nations. You know, the one that sits around and tries to decide ways to depopulate the planet through Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development. He defunded it. Yes, he's got all these elites around him, or a lot of Zionists, as Jeff here would call them. But there's no denying he's made some moves that put a big ass dent of a slow the hell down in Agenda 21, if nothing else. I, for one, am impressed. At least it's something. It is a start. Maybe it's a hoax, maybe it's bullshit, and maybe we've all been had because all the voices that are leading social media for Trump and trying to separate Trump from the Russia thing are all in bed with Russian propaganda news outlets. I actually I don't dislike Putin. I don't necessarily dislike Russia. I don't think Putin's this evil bastard. I've listened to, 3, 4, 5 different speeches that he's given, and he sounds like a very intelligent, well thought man. He doesn't sound like a psychopath. But it could be. It could be just part of, his duality or whatever. But you can't sit there and be all the big voices for all the Trump supporters and spend all this energy trying to tell everybody anything to do with Russia is fake news when all the people leading the charge are all in bed with Russian propaganda news agencies. And that's exactly what's going on. I haven't had a chance to listen to Jeff's stuff in its entirety on what he thinks about all these people. Obviously, his perspective is going to be different because he's exposing them because of Zionism. And he's on a different platform. He's checking out everything on YouTube. I just want you guys to know from my perspective over on Twitter, and I'm a guy who supports Trump. I see what's going on in his cabinet, and I see some of the moves that are being made. I'm not a blind idiot. But you also have to be a blind idiot not to recognize some of the steps that he's actually taken to fight Agenda 21. And to me, that's ultimately what it's all about. I want to stay alive. And I want to be free. I don't want to get blown up. I don't want my family to get blown up. And I don't want my family to become slaves. And I don't want my friends to become slaves. And I surely don't want them blown up or depopulated. And it seems to me he's taken some pretty positive steps for only being in office for 4 months of putting that to a halt. That's just me. And we don't have to agree on everything. But I just thought you guys might want to be aware. I'm a big Trump supporter, and I'm not going to stop being a Trump supporter. But I think all of these people in this big circle who have each other's numbers and are all being the big mouthpieces for all the other Trump supporters are all in bed with Russian propaganda reporters. This is a paradox. This is a conflict of interest, and it's actually laughable. I'm surprised that people on the left aren't over there beating the crap out of the Trump supporters with this information, because any idiot, all you got to do is go log on to Twitter for 4 weeks, and it doesn't take long to figure out what's going on. So that's my little piece of the puzzle. That's what I want to share with you guys. I like Trump. I am a Trump supporter. Until he does something really stupid and goes off the deep end, I'm going to continue to be a Trump supporter, because as far as I'm concerned, he's already taken some steps to do some serious fucking foot to ass over Agenda 21 2030. So, as far as I'm concerned, he can golf for 3 more years, throw Hillary's ass in jail, build his fucking wall if he wants to, and I'm done. I don't care. That's all I'm concerned about. Obviously, he doesn't just represent me. That's it. So that's my little piece of the puzzle, guys. That's what I'm seeing. I hope that Jeff will take the time to view this and share this with his viewers. He has a much bigger mouthpiece than I do. But for those of you who are subscribed to my channel and you are seeing this, don't misunderstand. I'm not stopping my Trump support, and until he does something completely outrageous, I'm not going to. But let's be mindful of those elites that he have on there in our own way. Don't let these big people with these big connections try to be your mouthpiece and tell you what you need to be hashtagging and retweeting and telling people. use your own damn discernment. Because you can't tell me that there's any way, shape, or form possible that's logical that all the big, huge mouthpieces for Trump trying to tell everybody Russia's Trump ties are bullshit. All these same guys are all in bed with Russian propaganda reporters and they're all going on each other's shows 24/7. It's laughable. So fuck all of them. I'm just saying. I'm not saying give up on Trump. But something's bullshit. And you know what? Just like my grandpappy always told me. It smells like shit. Somebody probably took a dump. Thanks, you guys. Y'all take care.